Thought I'd make a video once again to hopefully whatever it is that they can fix or alleviate or whatever it is that the psychologist is working on with my immediate family. I still haven't seen my mother. I've only been associated with my mother's twin. I miss my mother a lot. I haven't seen my mother since the last time we ate at that Mexican restaurant, and we took a picture. And I haven't had any contact, and I've only have been able to. So it has to be probably pretty serious. And I know that if my mother was in any good, healthy state of mind, then she would be asking for me and where I was. But whoever's keeping her occupied and training her, whatever it is that they're doing, just like they're doing her twin, they're making the decisions for her. As far as my brother being shot and his girlfriend being shot on the leg and foot, I noticed that in the video, the police officer moved his foot. In the video that was on WFFA Dallas News, a couple of the news stations that it was on, so they knew the guy that did that directly did that in front of the camera, and it was a police officer. There's another police officer behind him, so they got it. They know the details of that, and for someone to do that on camera is that they know, exactly what had happened, and they know about my immediate family. But as far as it goes with this whole situation with Frankie and Julian, why my mother knows, we all spoke about it when we were me, Frankie and Julian and my mom growing up, that my mom would have not liked for Julian and Frankie to have not allowed my mother to associate with me. She would have not ever liked that, and would have found that to be very disowning. And when we were at the hospital, I noticed that my mother's twin she seemed frustrated and agitated at some of the doctors, and like there was some invading, and I'm pretty sure they trained her and told her what to do or what was going on. But it's no one seems to my opinion, it didn't seem like anybody really has the best interest for my mother or the situation. They're just making up and taking advantage of my mother, 100%. 100,000% taking advantage of my mother in any way that they can, and make me the enemy, and make me a perpetrator, and make me, I'm just there to take advantage of my mother and manipulate and all this other crap. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth, because they want more control. The less defense my mother has of me in the picture, the better it is. It's going to work for their favor, and they can go to Julian and Frankie and they can manipulate it and take ownership of whatever, and making it sound like this is a fight of ownership of money or who did what, because there's so much tragedy involved and so much attention that's getting involved. And my mother would not like the fact that there's dozens and hundreds of thousands of people swarming me and just making Kenneth a glorious hero, and then bringing up multiple people that are distant relatives that really didn't have the interest, that wasn't good, or have them in charge of her life. And it's terrifying, but there's nothing that I can do. I just pray and hope that wherever my mother is, that she knows how much I care for her and how much I love her, and that I'm doing the best for her. And I know that as much as talks that we have had with one another while we were in our house and things were very much different, she would be very proud, and she would be astonished and very proud to say that that I was doing really good for her, and she would have liked that. But other people got involved. I don't know who, spending the millions of dollars and taking advantage of the circumstances but the chances of the truth ever being told is very unlikely, and because there's so much separation. Um, that experience that you have $175,000 that go missing. A lot of a lot of people taking advantage of the circumstances, and no one's listening to the truth. That entire experience belongs to Frankie, me, and Julian. It doesn't belong to anyone else, because I'm going to my job site, I'm going to anywhere, and that's exactly, when I speak to people over the phone, it is how much they can take away from my mother and put me as the enemy, and just make it as stressful, as strenuous, so that it goes into their favor, because they know that my mother's being manipulated and by whoever is in charge of her and taking control of her. And but I hope wherever she is, she knows that I love her, and I hope that she's okay, and not just okay, but I wish she knew the details. I wish I could speak to her, just to not even to bring up any of these subjects, just to talk to her and to see how she is. My mother wouldn't have liked any of this, but it is so desperate, it's so vulnerable, that there's so many people that have so much dark intentions to just manipulate and change the story and in any way that they can and make it about themselves, because it's their plate, it's their table, it's their money. They were the good people, and they were just trying to fix shit, and they weren't. I was making past gas. So I always hope and pray, as far as it goes, like when I spoke to Frankie, and my father had just died, and it was just like 22 years ago, and Julian was there. It was a settling experience, but it was 100% trying to figure out what had happened, and not just like, oh, what had happened. It was like, there's money missing, who's going to take advantage of mom. And I can tell you, as much as I don't like to say it, I remember talking to Frankie, and I told him about Robert's death. And he knew Robert. He gave Alicia a couple of rides to her work many years ago, and he used to bring Robert over. And Frankie seemed very disconcerted. And when I spoke to him, and I knew immediately, I just knew that it wasn't good. Whatever it was he was holding back, or whatever was going, wasn't going to be good. Because he had just, I know exactly when I spoke to him and how it was related to possible our sister that passed away, because there was no discussion of it. There was absolutely zero even discussion then. And then Julian was trying to get in on it, on some sort of dibs. So it was not a good situation. The last thing that my mother would have wanted is for somebody else to take advantage of it the way that they did, and they bought out everything. I noticed that Marco, he behaves a lot like Julian. Like, it's almost like Marco is like he was raised by Julian. I know it sounds weird, but I see a lot of Julian and Marco, like the personality. Like, it was almost like he fathered him, or he a lot of the personality traits is exactly like Julian. And like, I know my brother, and growing up, and to my understanding, I always thought it was Lucio that was his dad and would have raised him or had some sort of parental visits or something like that. But it seems like Julian raised Marco. I know it sounds weird, but it seems very much like that was his dad, or he had a father figure as Julian being a father figure to him. And he's really bonded to him. But it's such a horrible situation, because when I was in that hospital room with my mother's twin, and I call her mother like she's my mom, and I know she's not, but I just do because I'm supposed to. She seemed just like not besides of him being shot, the fact that there's hundreds of people running all over the place, and you can see she's strained. She's getting strained from the people like, this is for Kenneth. No, Kenneth was a hero. No, we're going to make him an angel. No, this is the Cooper. No, this is the police officers. No, the gay community was in charge, and we were the angels. And completely, you could see the training that, like, what they do to me, they're doing to her. And she doesn't know the details. Like, every time they tell her to say this or do that or behave this way or say these reference things exactly to what is going on in my life, she doesn't know the details. But it's to implement almost kind of like harm. Even though she doesn't know the details and knowing that it's doing harm, it's just, she's just following the orders of someone else. It just seems very much like that. When we spoke about our father that died, and I spoke about Robert, I know exactly what Frankie was talking. And he was very dismissive about that little girl that died, and he was trying to just like shrug it off, like he wouldn't take the ownership of it. At the time, there was no knowledge of it, but when I'm looking and I think back to how this conversation went, that's exactly 100%. And even Julian even made a reaction and had said something, and he wanted to take protection over the situation. So I don't know how much of what Julian was going on with, any Dreams Makeover Home Edition or what people got involved. I still, to this day, clueless completely to that. But I just know that Julian was living by himself in an apartment for like 7 months. Well, probably not that much, probably like 5 or 6 months. And he was just stranded by himself, all by himself. So, I mean, whoever was involved and ever in that circumstances had all the money. And still to this day, whoever's involved has all the money in the world, all the lawyers, all the professional psychologists, and all the power in the world to steal, take anything and rearrange the way that they want to make it feel like it's going to work for them. And it is. And it's not to any justice, it's not for any justice. It's not for what's right, what my father wanted, and how my mother's personality and what she had stated and what all the experiences. It's literally someone that just came through my father in a nursing home. He died. It took all his shit, and other people just started showing up and wanted to take advantage of it, and they did, and they let them off the hook. And it was all homosexual, transgender bound, and it is to this day. I'm still getting attacked by it. They know what I'm looking at whenever on my phone, looking at, whatever it is. If I start looking up real estate license, if I start looking up, any type of lawyers, immediately they know about that. They'll send people on the bus, they'll send people, and they'll just come threaten me. And they know that that's what they're implementing because they want to say they want to control the money. Wherever this money went, if it disappeared or not, it still doesn't change the fact that my father worked his entire life and it goes against the rules, and total strangers are telling me what this individual is to them, that is more important for them to give full-blown orders against me than not to say anything. They give the orders, you know how the threats are. You know when somebody is what they're talking about. And since there have been so much violence and there's been so much, irritation with so many things, there's nothing that I can do. I'm completely hopeless to the situation. Just praying that someone, heterosexual females, really take advantage of what I have to say for the best interest of my mother, and understand that these people are there just for harm. They're there just to take advantage of her. I'm telling you that these people have even in this video that I've made this conversation, this guy keeps opening and closing the door, and then it throws like electrical shock at me. So he knows I'm talking about my dad's money. He knows I'm talking about all the, my sister that passed away all these years ago. And this is a way to shut me up. And this is the way to take control. And it deters the individual's brain and ability to, like for myself, to even want to convey any of this stuff. And that is why. Because the less it gets talked about, the more it says, shh, give it to the faggots, give it to the trans, and then we'll get away. And then, Keynote 97, transgender movement. They don't care. To them, it's just a worthless dead body in the trash, and they want to act like heroes, and they don't give a shit. They don't know my mother personally. My mother's not calling this Chinese motherfucker and saying, yeah, thank you for slamming up in the doors when my son is trying to talk about what had happened with my son, Frankie, and Julian, and maybe try to arrange things. But I can't do anything. So I just have to just pray. I can't tell you how many people are coming at me in this house and trying to give the little messages everywhere I go. It's very, very evil in my opinion, because this has to do with multiple casualties and people that were directly in my immediate family, and a total stranger can come to me and tell me what they're going to steal and take, and what I'm allowed and not to say, and they do it by fear. They do by installing and intimidation by fear, and that's why they're there. They're not there for no good reason at all. So whoever the psychologists, any heterosexual females out there, out there that's, I hope to God that are Hispanic, knows what's going on, because you have all the wrong people involved, and they're going to go after Michaela, my sister. They just like they went after me and my mother, going after Frankie, and tell him this is how he's going to train, this is what he's going to take, this is how we're going to justify this and justify that, this is how we're going to put Julian in a really good job, pay a lot of money, this is how we're going to exchange this, and then screw the stupid bitch. And that's how the mentality is to these people that are total strangers. And then they want to be, oh, I'm the hero, I was just cleaning up, I was just making sure and adjusting things. That's bullshit. My mother spent an entire life suffering for this home and wealth and dealing with my father. My father as well passed away, and a total stranger tells me, like slamming open doors, oh, isn't that what I mean? No, it's exactly what you mean. I think when you practice those types of things to someone else's life, when it's a deceased person, it's murderous behavior. It's murderous behavior. It's a death behavior that you're doing, and you know what the fuck you're doing. And the people that have no interest, it's about supporting homosexuality, making that gay movement and that gay transgender shit power over my mother. Like, if I'd have to start making videos every single day to tell you the unrelentless behavior of trying to brainwash the identity of my mother directly at me. That my mother didn't say this, no, this is what your mother wanted. Your mother wants to congratulate Luca for hitting her daughter, and that's not what happened, and all this other shit. And it's, my mother got ran over by a forklift, 4,000 to 5,000 pound forklift when I was 18 years old. I was 19 years old when this happened, and she just gave birth to twins, Marco and his twin, which I didn't know even at the time Marco was a twin. And these people don't give a shit. They want to make sure they look like heroes. They want to point to who the hero is, and it's all a lie. I am the only truth of what my mother went through and the details. I'm the only person that's going to be able to tell you to the core of what had happened. And they're going after me for it, and they did. There was a lot of situations with, people renting out my mom and dad's house and taking money and seeing how much they were going to pay with family members, and they were taking advantage of my mother. I was there when I saw the situation, and when you get in so much pressure and you get so much bad things, you start not to care anymore and let people just take whatever they want, because just like they did to her daughter, I think that things should have been dealt a little bit different, but my mother would not be saying, thank you for mutilating my daughter repeatedly in front of my son Hector, who that's his sister, and that is my daughter that I had to deal with. Thank you for helping Kenneth and scolding Hector in front of him how precious you think of homosexuality and transgender, because that's who you want to take control over, and Raymond Palomo's death. Thank you for claiming that you're the holy hero and you just knew what's better for me. My mother would not be saying any of those things. And she would despise these people. I know my father, if he was alive, he would be saying all the curse words you can imagine, and a pieces of shit, you motherfuckers, you worthless assholes. But, you know, what are you going to say 22 years ago? You know, this is over 20 years ago. It's 22 years ago. My father passed away when he was 20. And $175,000, $50,000 in cash, $125,000 in the house is paid for. My mom gets ran over by a forklift. To my understanding, I always believed Lucio was the biological father. I can't even begin to say some of the other stories because I get scared to even put it on camera to say what other families told me that I know is very dark and evil, and nobody's paying attention because the more that I don't say anything, the more that I get intimidated, the more it benefits. Let's make this for the gays and transgenders, and that's not the reason. No, that's 100,000%. That is the fucking reason. And what they did to my mother is like they killed my mother to ever fucking do that horrific shit. All these motherfuckers in this house, most of them at least, that have done this to just mutilate my mother in this way. My mother would not be appreciating what these fucking slimy pigs are fucking doing. And it's just laughter to them. They don't care. You know, I go to the food pantry the other day, and this person is almost like referencing, telling me I'm going to die next. Like, oh no, you're next. Like, I'm not working in a nursing home to see what I'm going to. Like, it's fucking fucked up. They don't even care. These are total strangers I never met, and they'll try to represent themselves as Frankie. And I know, like, I couldn't say this even more enough, that when I talked about Frankie in this, Frankie immediately wanted to take advantage of that particular type of circumstance, and he wasn't. It's about who takes control, who wants to say, who wants to be the hero, and oh no, a gay man can be controlled, and that's it has nothing to do, because it has no rational justice or common sense, not even close. It's just like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to do this because this is how I paid for it. But there's nothing that I can do. Absolutely nothing. All I can do is pray, and the pain never really goes away. And I can only imagine that all these years are going by, and I have no contact with my mother. And they know that they can play my mother like a stupid, dumb, and I love my mother so much, but that's the behavior that they're doing. They know they can play my mother like a stupid bitch, and forgive my words. That's exactly how they see it. I can just do this to her, and I'm a hero. I can just do this and electrocute him. Oh, this is for President Barack Obama. Oh, no, I can do this because we're just fixing things, and Frankie needs it. Frankie told us the truth. Our gays are in charge. All that is fucking gay. Like Frankie and Julian and all that behavior is homosexuality. It's like that's their team. Like, I'm separated from that, and it's prejudice in that sense. It's like if you walk into a gay club and shit, or you walk into a gay bar, like that, and or you walk into a room in a Ku Klux Klan and you're black and you walk in there like that. But hopefully this reaches the right people. I don't think of all the 1,000 videos that I've ever made has ever reached the right people. It seems like it's all reached the wrong people. They've infiltrated a platoon army, and they went after the money and my mother. They know, and they have to turn everything against it and rewire it to benefit from Barack Obama and Michael Jackson, and especially Kenneth, because they made him the idol hero. I don't know who Michaela is, other than she's my sister, and what little did I experience with her in my life, and meeting my father just a couple of times, but he's no longer alive, my biological father. But Michaela would not, even if she didn't want to be a part of my life. Like, let's just say that I met her in an official circumstance, and she wanted to talk, and she really just kind of spoke lightly, and you could kind of tell she just didn't want any existence to be a part of my life. It still would affect my biological father's relationship with me, even though the existence was very minimal. My mother, her sister that passed away, she never knew the abuse that all entailed. But I know Michaela would not be like, oh, I'm so glad you scummed the shit out of my sister that died so many years ago. I'm glad you scummed Hector all these years in the homeless shelter and you beat him up, with a murder attempt. Because Michaela knows about that murder attempt. I told her as much as things as I could. I said, these people, this is a murder attempt they placed on me. She would not be congratulating these people. Oh, thank you for scumming the shit out of my sister and my biological father, who's no longer alive. Thank you for scumming the shit out of him to make sure that you make Kenneth Cooper at the radio station and make this all about pro-black. Thank you for just scumming my sister that died and this poor little girl that was wearing a princess outfit for this black guy that kept on scumming and spitting all over the shit, driving my biological father's car, taunting and playing psychological games. Michaela would not be hugging him or anyone else that's playing along with this, and will probably not like that, because the closest relationship that she probably had is far greater than I had in existence with this man by the name of Hector, who I never met, but just a handful of times, and is no longer alive. And to my knowledge, she would not be happy about that. She would not be like, oh, I'm glad people are scumming the shit and trying to represent a person you don't know, and then trying to take advantage of this dead little girl again by using him as a shuttle ride all over again. She would not like that. Most biological straight women would never ever like that. And I can tell by the character of this person was a very good person. And I get scared all the time because people are always threatening me. I've come across a few heterosexual females that have told me they were going to go after her. They were going to do disgusting shit to her, like what you see in porn videos, and just nasty, raunchy guys that were going to black her in. And I've had so many disgusting fucking things. People always come at me with disgusting things. Like, I just felt somebody just a second ago just hit me with the fucking electrical volt. She would not be happy about that. I can't tell you how many times people have said so many disgusting things. Be like, oh, Michaela, look. This guy over here was head over heels to tell you, he was telling me how he was going to fuck you in your ass and degrade you. How this guy over here was telling me they were going to send a guy there with a 12-inch dong to make sure to ruin your ass, and then we were just going to take advantage. Like, I wouldn't want to have that conversation. But it was these total strangers over a huge span of years that were doing this shit. Like, I'm literally 25, 24 years old, and I think Michaela was a nanny at one time. I have suspicions to think, I don't know if any of this is true, whether she slept with a married man or she slept with a guy that she was much, much, much more older than her, that she was a nanny. Because many years ago, I was about 25 years old, and I want to say that someone brought up her name, and people were already asking me, how many brothers you have? How many sisters you have? And I was living with this person that had a disability, and it was very sketchy when I was living there. This is when I was getting all these tickets, and they said something about a girl by the name of Michaela, and I want to say, I think they said Michaela lived way down the street from me, and I was living at this house, and they were telling me that she was a nanny for a living. So I have no idea, but they were running all these test runs on me, and I don't know who Michaela is at this point. Not even the closest of an idea that I have a biological sister. Let alone if I ever met my biological father, would he be probably even less interested in connecting or to even say anything of me. The fact that, nice to meet you, whoever you are, but they were telling me how this dude over here and this person over here and this person over here was telling me how they were going to do away with your daughter. And they were attacking me at my job site. They were telling me how you were just a child molester and, took advantage of my mother when she was like 15 years old and you were 25 and you raped her and all this other shit. I mean, it was nasty consistently. Oh, by the way, they were just making sure the actor of Kenneth Cooper, this black guy was here, was completely harvesting you and just claiming that he was the angel that saved the story and really gave this to you because you're not smart enough and you're too stupid also to understand what the fuck's going on, and he's just the hero right now. Like, you wouldn't want to hear any of this. Like, let alone, I'm not looking for a father figure. My father died a long time ago. But to the man that had a daughter that died and gave me up and cried in the car and felt emotion, it had to have been pretty bad for him. And, but it didn't seem like anybody cares. It didn't seem like anybody cared. Why my mother would have named me after this man? Why did my mother name me after this person if she truly hated this guy? Did she name me in hopes that he would come back, or maybe just to help implement a tombstone on me so that maybe it would be in a benefiting way that he would return or do something with his child? Or did she really like this man? That maybe is a bit of his character to honor? Because my mother used to tell me as a kid, I gave you Hector. No, yo te di tu nombre Hector. I gave you Hector. I gave your name Hector. I wanted your name to be Hector. And I was a kid. I remember her cooking and so on. She was telling me this. But hopefully this is benefiting. And I'm telling you, Frankie was there when we were talking about it, he was trying to slide it underneath the rug when he was talking about Robert's death, so he could manipulate whatever was going on with the little girl that died. I know that was why. I know the details between Ivan and Frankie, and what happened in these circumstances. 100% taken advantage of, 100%, and just trying to make the best of it. But since you have all these homosexuals and it's just gay pride, you're just doing away, stealing and taking anything they want, because no one is going to do anything, and they're mutilating it as a sacrificial lamb. To their benefit, just to have a buffet for themselves. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do. I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many times, no heterosexual female would ever want to hear those types of things. Like, you're mutilating a little girl that, from Michael Jackson and Barack Obama, and just shitting on it. They don't have any interest that this is my direct sibling. They don't have any interest that this little girl, they want to just turn it against me. Oh, we had to keep Hector away from the girls because he may develop a retarded girl. No, that's not what I meant. It was just because he didn't know how to talk to girls. And that was bullshit. Like, on another side story I want to say as well is the day that I talked about, and I want to bring this up because there was a guy on the bus that was harassing me, and he played again himself like Kenneth. And I talked about that this guy, let me tell you how interested this girl was that was upstairs living above my apartment. And she was a beautiful blonde girl, and beautiful. And she had a guy, I never talked to them, I was always respected, I never shared any words. I may have said just hi once after like 8 months of me living there, and they lived there for like a year, maybe a little more than that. And this girl was 100% interested at me. In fact, she was so interested at me that there was a build-up of attraction. And I remember she got really pissed off at this gay guy that was living with her because she thought that he was one that was stopping me from wanting to talk to her, and she was interested. She literally stood on the stairway and she checked this motherfucker, like had him like a puppy dog, like, you stand right there. If I want to talk to him, I can, like 100%. And she was just standing there, like hoping that I would say, and like letting me know that she was in control of him, like that she was interested. Like there was a numbers of things that were going on, but I was always very respectful. I regret it now. I wish I would have said something, but at that time, she had a lot of interest. And then within a couple weeks, a month, that's when I immediately, the gays trans contacted Kenneth to say, hey, prevent him from talking to that girl. And I don't know who controlled it. And let me tell you something. My mother, I thought it was my mother. It wasn't my mother, but it was her twin. If my mother didn't want anything to do with me, do you know what my mother would have done? Why was my mother way on the other side of the apartment complex when I would be coming home from work? I promise to God I remember this happening several times. And this is like right after my transplant. I think I want to say it was after my transplant. Could have been before as well. I want to say it was happened before. And my mother parked her car, and I remember driving, and she just showed up at an apartment. And she opened the door, and I saw her as she slowly closed the door. And I remember thinking, when I saw my mother, which I didn't know was my mother, was her twin, thinking, my mother misses me. And I know how my mother is. You know, not all mothers are the same. I know my mother would have been like, my hijo Héctor. Mi hijo Héctor. Es mi hijo. Héctor es mi hijo. Ese es mi hijo. Yo lo quiero mucho. Es mi hijo. I know because I could just see that there was like this sense, huge sense of like, I just disappeared. And I wasn't important. And she didn't like the fact that someone had done that. She wouldn't have shown up there like that. And it wasn't in angry. It was like to see me, to see what was going on in my life. And I remember driving by, and I was like, and I remember thinking like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is her car parked? And I said, is that my mother? And I almost got out of my car, walked down the street to knock on the door, and say, and I want to say, I don't think I did, but I wanted to, and I was like, I could have sworn that was my mother. And I was like, I knew that was my mother. And I hadn't talked to my mother in a long time because I was told to stay away from her, and I was told to just leave her alone. She's just making her own life, and make your own life, just to separate, just get away from her. And by numbers of family members. But if she really didn't care, she wouldn't have been over there. And multiple. I remember seeing her for like, the car would park there, and I remember her waiting for me because she knew when I got off work she would close the door. And I would be driving by, and she did that like twice, 2-3 times. And I remember just enough where I could kind of see her, but I remember her car being parked there, very, very clear. I remember her car parked there, and it was her, and it was like there for like a week, and then I never saw it again. And then like 4 months, 8 months later, I'd see her car parked there, and I knew the people. I didn't know the people that lived there, but I knew the cars. I never saw people live there. It was very weird to me. Anyway, I thought I'd make a video on that. But I remember that blonde girl. She literally checked that gay guy that was, because she got mad because she knew or believed that this guy was preventing me from talking to her, and she wanted to talk to me. And she was like checking this guy, like putting him in his place. Like you could see that she was not happy, and it had nothing to do with me. Like she had a couple of times tried to engage and talk, but I was always respected because I always like, oh, that's his girlfriend. That's just, this is his girl. And I remember that very vividly. So all this information that I'm sharing has now been recorded and been listened to and documented, and they'll start doing stage performances of this as to sort of antagonize me at my job site or a bus or wherever I am at. And they've already known the story, but that girl was extremely interested in talking to me. There had been a significant buildup of attraction, without a doubt. They lived there for about a year and a half. So, anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this, and y'all know the story. So, I thought I'd make a video, hoping to reach out to the right people. Protect my mother, wherever she is.